rightly placed in Yah's kingdom requires of us two things: flexibility and commitment. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 3 of the Torah portion, Bamidbar. Let's go to the book of Numbers, or Bamidbar, chapter number 2, and read the first 2 verses. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe and to Aaron, saying, the children of Israel are to camp, each one by his own banner, beside the sign of his father's house. Let them camp around the tent of appointment at a distance. Tell you a quick story. When I was a child, many years ago, we would at times visit my grandparents, my grandma and grandpa Phillips, who lived in Floyd County up in the mountains. They weren't just country, they were mountain. It's a little different. We all slept as a family in one bedroom. There were 2 beds there, and my mom and sisters would sleep in one bed, and Dad and I in the other, or some arrangement similar to. In the wintertime, you got to where you was going to get as far as being in a position in the bed, because Grandma Phillips would come in and she'd start pulling up these quilts and blankets from the bottom of the bed. And about 7 or 8 layers deep sometimes. She called it making sure, quote unquote, that you had enough kiver. The weight of the blankets or the weight of the quilts that she had was heavy enough. You better be in a good position and a comfortable place, because you couldn't move. The weight of the cover upon you was too heavy. I tell you that story to tell you this. At some point, you need to get where you're going to get. And that doesn't mean that we need to find one spot and never move. Yah always seems to have another step, another place, another experience for us in some manner. But 2 things are required of us. That is, that we have a sense of flexibility. That is, we are willing to be flexible to His will. When Yah says, I need you to make an adjustment. I want you to change your routine. I want you to alter your employment. I want you to engage or disengage from certain relationships. Sometimes you need to change congregations. These things happen. We don't always understand why they happen, but they happen. We need to be flexible to His will in that respect. Now, I don't believe that Yah has us hopscotching all over the place, never making a landing, never making a commitment, and being what others might call flighty. We need to put down some roots. We need to know where we belong and among whom we belong, and find our place. It's not always an immediate release. It's not always, we decided it this week and we're changing next week. Sometimes it's a process, and we have to be flexible to the process. On the other hand, there needs to be a sense of commitment. That is, that when we have a place that our roots are being set down, that we take on accountability, some sense of responsibility, some sense of investment, some sense of involvement, a pattern of ownership. The more we put into something, the more we should be able to expect reasonably to receive from Him. Now, in the regards to the text that I shared with you, the people of Israel were not allowed to say, I think I'll move over there and join with that group because I don't like this group. He arranged them by tribal allotment and by tribal affiliations. Now consider the following. On the right-hand side, on the east, if you were to look at the encampment of Israel, on the right, that's normally when we think about the east, camped Yehuda, and Issachar and Zebulun. Yehuda is praise. Issachar means a reward. Zebulun means a dwelling. So the meaning of their names together is praise rewards our dwelling. That kind of fits, and that's nice. We want to worship, and the reward shows up in amongst the midst of us and our dwelling place. It's a good place to be. To the south, you have Reuven, Shimeon, and then you had Gad, seeing and hearing a troop. It's a good fortified place to be. I can see his troop. I can hear his troop. Yah's troop is with us. The armies of the heavens dwell along with us. It's a good place to be. On the left, out west, we had Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin. These are the sons of Joseph. Ephraim meaning fruitful, Manasseh meaning causing to forget, that is, forget the hardship of the past. And then Benjamin is the son of my right hand. So we're being made fruitful and caused to forget our problems by the son of the right hand. That is, Yeshua dwells with us, and he's given us fruit bearing and causing us to get over our past. Great place to be. To the north, we have Dan, Asher, and Naphtali. Dan is to judge or to be judged, or maybe you could say judgment. Asher is indicated as happy. Naphtali is the one who wrestles. So judgment, or even in a time of judgment, happy are those who are wrestling. That means that we're going to prevail. We're going to overcome. Even in the middle of the stuff, we can remain joyful and happy. Yah, I don't know if he was necessarily thinking about name meanings when he aligned these people, but he also knew the tribal personalities. He knew how he wanted to arrange them. And it's also interesting that the chief of those four locations, Yehuda, Reuven, Ephraim, and Dan. Yehuda is a lion, Reuven a man, Ephraim an ox, and Dan an eagle. These are the same four faces of the cherubim who make up Yah's throne. In Ezekiel chapter number 1. Hard reading, hard to understand, but it's there. And so what we understand then is that Yah aligned them by a certain pattern. From this, we should learn this truth, at least this truth, and this is something I want to share with you. We need to learn to live by design and not by default. You also oftentimes will hear people say, well, it is what it is, or what goes around, it comes around. Well, you reap what you sow. Well, those are true to some degree. And yes, scripturally, you do reap what you sow. But it's not suggesting that we should just sit back and whatever life throws at us, well, the Most High, the big guy upstairs, that must have been what he wanted for me, so I'll just have to deal with it. We live our lives by design. That means by discipline. We have a pattern of behavior that we have examined and found to be fruit-bearing. There are times that Yah interrupts our patterns. There are times that he wants us to change our patterns. Why? Because there's a different level of fruit-bearing that he might want us to enter into. Some of you have written and allowed us to know that you've had to make some various moves. You've gone from here to there to somewhere else, or you've had to change some congregational alignments. These things happen. So no one's pointing a finger, no one's throwing any blame here. There's nothing negative in my remarks at all. There are times that Yah does change some things around, change some things up for us. But if you know you're where you're supposed to be, get committed. Invest. Put some heart into it. Put your hands to the plow and start pushing and don't look back. Make a difference. Share a part. Give some of yourself. It's risky. It's chancy. You can get your heart broke. But we work together, and we're after the kingdom together. So be flexible. and be committed. And be here tomorrow. We'll talk to you again then. To then, shalom.